Hello and welcome to episode number 6 on the famous Matches of Magic channel. Today, let me take you back to 2016 to Pro Tour Oath of the Gatewatch in the semifinals.
He's gonna, wow, so insane.
Today's match is between Luis Scott-Vargas and Jiachen Tao. Luis, or LSV as he is known, is no stranger to the Pro Tour, as this is his 6th top 8 appearance. However, this is Jiachen Tao's only 3rd Pro Tour, which makes him a rookie when compared to LSV. Now for this Pro Tour, there were 2 types of people: those who knew about the power of Eldrazi and those who did not. In the top 8 of this Pro Tour, there were 6 Eldrazi decks. The other 2 were affinity decks that were able to compete due to the broken nature of Mox Opal, but it was obvious that Eldrazi was the best decks. There were slightly different builds, but at the end of the day, the deck for the tournament was Eldrazi. This is due to the power of 2 lands that have existed for a while at this point: Eldrazi Temple and Eye of Ugin. Both of these lands add 2 mana, or sometimes more in the case of Eye of Ugin, but up until the release of Oath of the Gatewatch, there were no colorless Eldrazi spells that cost less than 10 mana worth playing. However, this all changed with the release of Battle for Zendikar and Oath of the Gatewatch, which was just full of colorless Eldrazi spells. LSV was playing a colorless build of Eldrazi, and Jiachen Tao was playing a blue-red version of the deck. Let's take a look at their modern decks. Now the main difference here is that the colorless deck plays Chalice of the Void and Simian Spirit Guide. Chalice of the Void for 1 on the first turn is amazing in the format, but it is not very good in the mirror, so this makes the colorless deck much better in the format, but it is a little bit of a disadvantage in the mirror. It also has fewer creatures than the blue-red deck, but it does have more creature lands such as Blinkmoth Nexus and Mutavault, neither of which are in the blue-red deck. Also, the main Eldrazi missing in the blue-red deck is Matter Reshaper. Now, the blue-red deck does not have the same colorless lands that are utilities such as Blinkmoth Nexus or Mutavault or Ghost Quarter, as it has to waste spots on Steam Vent, Scalding Tarn, and basic lands. However, as a sacrifice for this, it gets to play Drowner of Hope and Vile Aggregate, both of which are amazing in the mirror and can give the deck super aggressive draws. This deck has less disruption for non-Eldrazi decks, but is definitely stronger in the mirror. Will Jiachen Tao be able to take down LSV and make it to the finals of the Pro Tour? Or will LSV be able to take down his 2nd Pro Tour championship? Let's head down to the match. And we are off with game 1, and LSV is on the play due to being the higher seed, but JC has an amazing start with 2 Eldrazi Mimics and an Endless 1 for 2 on the play. Doesn't get much better for that. LSV has nothing on turn 2 either, and JC is just getting in there. Looks like this is going to be a fast one. Now he has a Reality Smasher, but LSV is able to dismember it there, which is going to shrink those Eldrazi Mimics, but man, this is not going to be enough. LSV has almost nothing. He's thinking about taking the 2 on the Endless 1, and he's gonna have his own Reality Smasher here, but it's probably gonna be too late. His Eldrazi Mimic becomes a 5/5. He gets in for 10, but Drowner of Hope comes down. The Mimics become 5/5s, and that's it. And we are on to game number 2, where LSV is on the play, but JT has a Gemstone Cavern with a luck counter on it, which essentially makes him be on the play. On the third turn here, LSV is getting in for 7 more points of damage with a Mimic and a Matter Reshaper and a Nexus. JT is going to dismember the Nexus, but it's going to cost him 2 points of life using his Gemstone Caverns, bringing him all the way down to 10. JT plays a Thought-Knot Seer, removing an Oblivion Sower from LSV's hand, and this is the only action spell in LSV's hand, leaving him with all lands. But he trades off his Matter Reshaper and draws an Endless One, which is huge. This is going to bring down a 7/7 Endless One for LSV, bringing him right back into this game. JT brings the Ratchet Bomb up to 2, which is no longer able to kill the Endless One. JT plays a Vile Aggregate, which is a 2/5, which gives 6 power, which is not able to trade off for the 7/7 Endless One. LSV swings in with everything. This is going to be a good exchange for JT because he's going to eat a Mutavault, then dismember the Endless One. But this does bring him all the way down to 4 points of life total, and LSV drops an Eldrazi Mimic and passes the turn. JT has no choice but to go on the offensive, but he immediately trades off his creature for his Eldrazi Mimic and passes it back to JT. JT finally hits the 5th mana, so he's able to play the 2 Reality Smashers he's been holding in his hand the entire game. He is able to present a lethal attack for LSV, forcing a chump block with the Matter Reshaper. If he can just fade a top deck off the Matter Reshaper, then he can win. But no, LSV top decks a Reality Smasher off of the Matter Reshaper, so he is going to be able to swing back and kill JT on the next turn, and JT packs him up. We are tied 1-1. And we are on to game number 3, where JT is going to be on the play, and he starts with an Eye of Ugin and a Endless One for 2. Having one of his lands that can add 2 is extremely important. LSV follows up with an Eldrazi Temple and a Mimic, so this is going to be an exciting game. Both are coming out of the gates with their powerful lands. JT plays a Sky Spawner, so he has 3 bodies on the board on turn 2. Now LSV is going to follow up with a Thought-Knot Seer, which is going to pump up his Eldrazi Mimic into a 4/4. Now we are going to get to see what JT is holding in his hand and what is LSV going to take. So now JT is holding a lot of action. He has 2 Drowner of Hope, a Thought-Knot Seer, and an Eldrazi Obligator. Drowner of Hope are the trump cards in his deck. Now he does not have much mana in his hand, which is an issue. So therefore LSV is going to take the Thought-Knot Seer and let him hold the 2 Drowner of Hope. Now we are going to skip forward a few turns, and JT is still holding those 2 Drowners of Hope, and LSV has a lot of pressure on the board because JT has not been able to cast those, being stuck on lands. LSV plays a Matter Reshaper. Now he's going to get in for 3, but no, JT is going to trade it off with his Sky Spawner there. And JT hits a Thought-Knot Seer and is going to see LSV is out of gas. Now JT really needs to hit lands, and he misses again, and he is going to play a Vile Aggregate. LSV had the advantage early, but JT finally got enough mana to get one of his 2 Drowners of Hope into play, and LSV now top decks a Thought-Knot Seer to get the 2nd Drowner of Hope out of his hand. But will it be enough? It appears like it most likely will not be enough, as JT has a commanding board presence. Now he is going to do a main phase, use his Eye of Ugin to search up another Drowner of Hope. He has to use the mana from his Eye of Ugin and then play another Eye of Ugin out of his hand, so he has to do it main phase, and LSV hits another Thought-Knot Seer to get rid of that one. Not only did he hit the Thought-Knot Seer, he also hit a Reality Smasher. So maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe LSV can pull this out. This is going to be a photo finish. So what is JT going to come up with? He does not have enough lands to use the Eye of Ugin, but he can sack some of those Eldrazi spawns if he really wants to use it. He can also sack some of those spawns to tap down some creatures, but man, this is going to be an extremely close finish. It did not seem like it was going to be close, but LSV had some clutch draws here going into the finish. When these Eldrazi boards stall out, a lot of times they come down into who can get an Eye of Ugin active. And now he is taking lands off the top of JT's deck. And LSV looks like he has taken control over this game. Let's see if JT can pull this out. It looked absolutely hopeless for LSV, but now it looks absolutely hopeless for JT. JT is going to get in there with a Drowner of Hope, and he is going to be tapping down the Oblivion Sower and getting in with his majority of his team with 2 Thought-Knot Seer. But that attack was just a last-ditch effort, and his team is just obliterated by the Eldrazi army on LSV's side. And that second Oblivion Sower was too much, and JT scoops him up, and we are on to the next game. JT is on the play for game 4 in hopes of forcing a game 5, and on turn 2 he is going to have an endless 1 for 3 off of his Eye of Ugin. Now LSV also has his own turn 1 Eye of Ugin, and he is going to answer with his own Matter Reshaper, which is going to be able to trade with an endless 1 if he so chooses. Now here we have JT, who is going to have a Thought-Knot Seer, and let's take a look at LSV's hand right here. Now LSV has an Urborg, his own Thought-Knot Seer, a Gut Shot, a Spellskite, and a Reality Smasher. Now JT is going to take the Thought-Knot Seer from LSV's hand, but LSV is still going to have a Reality Smasher, so LSV's hand is still pretty good. Now we are going to go to LSV's turn, where he is able to play a Reality Smasher and get in for 8 points of damage, and JT is going to play a Dismember and kill the Reality Smasher and discard a card due to the ability of the Reality Smasher, bringing him to 13. Now he is going to untap and answer with his own Reality Smasher, attacking for 12 points of damage. That just shows you the power and speed of this Eldrazi deck, swinging in for all of that damage there. LSV just has a Spellskite on his turn, and JT is looking there with his side of the board with his 12 power on his side of the board. And he has an Eldrazi Obligator, which is going to be able to steal the Matter Reshaper, which should be able to present a lethal attack. And he steals it from LSV, and LSV is going to pack him up and force a game number 5. And we are on to the final game, and LSV is on the play, but unfortunately he mulliganed to 5 to a 1-lander, but he did scry to the top, which he kept an Eldrazi Temple, which will hopefully make this a competitive game. Now JT did keep a pretty good hand. Let's take a look here. JT has a second Eldrazi Temple, 2 Shivan Reef, a Drowner of Hope, 2 Reality Smashers, and a Ruination Guide. This is going to be an uphill battle for LSV, but if anyone can do it, it is him. LSV plays the Eldrazi Temple, he scryed to the top, and his Eldrazi Mimic. JT drops his Eldrazi Temple and is going to Thought Not Seer LSV, who just immediately throws his hand onto the table. Let's see what LSV is working with. An Oblivion Sower, a Reality Smasher, and an Eldrazi Mimic. It could be a much worse mulligan to 5, but the Thought Not Seer is going to take that Reality Smasher out of LSV's hands. And LSV can slowly feel that second Pro Tour Championship slipping through his fingers. He drops a second Eldrazi Mimic and has to pass the turn back to JT. Now JT, what is he going to do here? He is going to play a Reality Smasher, get in for 5, bringing LSV down to 15. LSV draws a Simian Spirit Guide. Will that help him? Probably not. We know JT has another Reality Smasher and a Drowner of Hope. LSV does not know this, but he plays a Endless One for 4 and is getting in for 8 points of damage. JT knows this game is for him to not lose, as he has everything in his hand to win. He just needs to play tight Magic. He takes the 8 points of damage. He untaps. He can feel the finals coming into his grasp. He knows he can win this game. He is just being very careful. He taps his mana slowly and he drops an Eldrazi Obligator. He is going to steal the Endless One from LSV. And LSV scoops him up, extends the hand, and JT makes it to the finals of the Pro Tour. And in case you were wondering, he does win the championship, and JT was the Pro Tour Oath of the Gatewatch champion.
I can't believe it! You could have